Hi, I'm Julia Harris, a.k.a. Julia the Realtor.
And I'm Karen Jones-Lewis, your Georgia, Florida Realtor.
We would like you to join us every first and third Saturday at 12 noon, where we will answer all your real estate questions. Good morning, WMBM listeners. Welcome to the Julia the Realtor Show, all the way live from beautiful North Miami, Florida, where you can get your up-to-date real estate information and all your real estate questions answered. And in the process, have a little fun. If you need real estate services in the Broward and Dade County areas, you can call me directly at 954-483-9994. You can also find me on Facebook at Julia the Realtor SFL. That's duh as in D-A, not T-H-E. On Instagram at Julia the Realtor, Twitter at Julia the Realtor 1, and on my website at www.juliatherealtor.com. But while I'm here on the show, you can call 305-953-9626, 954-525-1490, or toll free at 1-888-8. How many eights was that? 599-WMBM.
Just go ahead and repeat it, Julia.
Lord, I'm going to try that again. 888-599-WMBM. So, you heard her laughing in the background. Joining me today is my colleague, co-host, and friend, Karen Jones-Lewis.
That is me. What's up, WMBM listeners? I am Karen Jones-Lewis, your real estate broker in Florida. My contact number is 305-323-1556, and I want you to check out my blog, KarenJonesLewis.com. Make sure that you check it out and leave a comment.
Karen.
What's up, Julia?
You know what I'm going to ask you, right?
All right. Well, you go ahead. What's up?
What's your nugget that you going to give us today?
All right, let me see. Okay, let's do this one right here. All right, so if you have parents that are looking for an adult community or looking to downsize, I want you to check out Century Village. That's a 55-plus community. It is in the heart of Pembroke Pines, Florida. Let's talk about some of those community features. They have pools in the different complexes. They have a man gate with 2 entrances. Gorgeous, Julia. I mean, a gorgeous clubhouse.
I already know.
The maintenance is affordable. You have a lake and a golf view for all you golfers. I'm trying to do that. All righty.
Girl.
They have 2 gym facilities, and it's open Monday through Sunday. 10 minutes from the police station and 2 minutes from the fire station. So if you have a parent over there, you don't have to worry about it. They right around the corner. The hospital, the police station, the fire station, you name it. They have concerts. They have over 18, 20, 30. They have so many different clubs. Keep the seniors alive and keep them active. And one of our listing agents, Arelis Roblejo, she is selling a unit over in Century Village. She's fluent in Spanish and English, and we want you to give her a call. We just want to highlight one of her listings. Her number is 305-725-4664. Again, her name is Arelis Roblejo. 305-725-4664. 55-plus community, but we call it an adult community.
Karen, while you on highlighting listings, I'm going to just throw one out there myself.
Throw it out. I need to highlight mine, but throw it out.
I'd like to highlight a rental listing that I have. It is a 2.5 townhouse, was recently remodeled and has all new stainless steel appliances, along with a full-size washer and dryer located on the second floor with a huge screened-in balcony overlooking the water in a quiet community in Plantation, close to shopping, restaurants, schools, and highways. This home is ready for you to move in right now, so I want you to give me a call. Give me a call at 954-483-9994.
All right. I tell you one thing, our listeners better jump on it. If they don't, Julie, I got somebody to fit in. Is that one that's close by Sawgrass?
It is so close to Sawgrass. You could walk to it almost.
Wait, Julia,
if you're feeling adventurous, that is.
Julia, give out your number again, because if nobody does not call you after the show, I have somebody to fit in.
954-483-9994.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So, Karen, on our last show, we had a probate attorney as our guest. Karen and I had to literally make sure before she left this parking lot that she agreed to return so we can finish our talk. Listeners, I want you to get your pen and paper ready now so you can write down anything that you need to find out. And I want to welcome back Attorney Marva Wiley.
Good afternoon, ladies and WMBM.
Good afternoon, Miss Wiley.
Yes. I tell you, Julia, ever since Attorney Marva came with us, you know me, I am... Julia, look like you got me. You put me on Front Street on Facebook Live. Didn't I tell you don't put me on Facebook Live today?
I'm going to stop. I'm big.
All right, go ahead. Let it roll. Let it go. Let it go.
Girl, you look good. Go on.
You know, when you get on Front Street, you want your hair combed. You don't want to run out with your hair not combed. You want to have on your best outfit, right? Your Sunday's outfit, right, Mama?
Something. You want to look like you planned it.
Yeah, right. Now, she just got me looking any kind of way, but... It's all good because we got some valuable information, and it is worth posting on Facebook and anywhere else, though. Because Marva, she has some valuable information. But I'm first with the questions today. Let me see. I had to write down my questions, Julie. I think I got like 30 questions. Let me just give you one of them.
We're going to condense them, though. We only got 30 minutes.
Marva, okay, you're going to walk some of this through. Okay, this may be a repeat question. What advice can you give to a family so that they don't feud, so that they don't argue? Because sometimes when the families don't come together, they're feuding, and it takes such a long time for the probate process to end. And I don't know if this is the truth or myth. When it comes like that, the person or the company that wins mainly is the attorney.
No doubt.
Oh, wow.
Marva,
so that's truth.
Right. That's true. But before you answer that, right, I want you to just explain to everyone what probate is all about before you answer the question, because those who weren't listening last time may not know what we're talking about.
Right.
So,
and I had an experience this week where a rather experienced investor called me up and explained to me what the status of a property was, and he had no clue. And I had a prior client 3 years ago who purchased a property from him. So it revealed to me that even when I think people know what's going on, they may not in fact know.
Right.
So probate is the process by which the courts determine who the rightful heirs to a deceased person's property is or are, depending on how many we have. So if you have a will and the will is determining how the assets are to be inherited, that goes through probate. If you don't have a will, then state law determines who inherits those assets, and that goes through probates. So there are two types of probate actions, intestate and testate.
Awesome. All right, now you can answer Karen's question.
Okay. As I mentioned, there are the two general types of actions, intestate or testate, are pretty well defined in terms of who gets the assets. So if it's testate, then the person who died left a will that says, I want Julia, I want Karen to get this.
X, Y, Z.
Exactly. So there really shouldn't be any questions because it's in writing.
Right.
If there were no will, then the state law says if Karen and Julia are the two children and there's no surviving spouse, then Karen and Julia get it. Should be no question.
That down the middle.
However, what I have seen become questions I'll deal with what is more common. I'm not going to deal with all the issues of paternity and who inherits if da. Where I've seen a lot of fights happen is with the partition actions that happen because multiple people are on a piece of property. Mom and or dad want to be fair and give all the children everything.
Right.
And what I say a lot when I do clinics is, you know your children. You know. Somebody may not be good with money. Somebody may not be good with taking care of you personally. We've got to acknowledge what we know to be true about people and let that go forward.
Right.
What I found in South Florida a lot of our slum and blighted communities got that way because mom and dad worked real hard 60s, 70s. They bought a house. They lived in the house. You had the well-manicured lawns and neighborhoods were pretty solid and stable. And then they die. Left the property to 4 or 5 children if they did a will, or perhaps even more. And often there is 1 or 2 who aren't doing anything. They stay in the house.
Right.
And they expect somebody else to take care of them.
Wow.
And there's a sibling who's off somewhere, and for a while they're honoring mom and dad and they're paying the taxes, but at some point that breaking point hits and they stop. So you know what happens? The house falls into disrepair. The lot stops being maintained. The city or the county puts liens on the property because they have to come and maintain it. Then the house falls into disrepair to the extent that it's declared an unsafe structure. The city or the county comes in and demolishes it. So what you end up with is a piece of property that has thousands of dollars of liens on it, and it compounded over lot after lot after lot creates slum and blight, because who wants to live next door to that?
That's true.
So I definitely advocate for people making long-term decisions about who's going to be responsible with your property. Who is going to, if you want somebody to take care of everybody else, please get the buy-in of the person you're expecting to do that, because I've seen that happen too, where people are like, oh, wait, no, I'm not doing that.
Right. They do that like with the life insurance policy too. Parents love their kids and they want to do equal amount, $250,000, and they want each kid to have $50,000 each. And so when it's time to bury mom and or dad, then they're like, well, who's going to take that money out? Yeah, who's going to pay for it?
But at least that's life insurance and that's cash. So that's a pretty short-term issue. You either pay, you don't pay. That you might be mad at your siblings for the rest of your life, but that's kind of resolved. But when multiple people are entitled for property, that complicates things, because really, legally, you can't really rent it unless everybody's on one page. You can't sell it unless everybody's signing. And when you can, it goes to court. It's called a partition action. And I've had to do a lot of partition actions. And those were generally where multiple people, 2 or more people own property, can't agree on what to do with it. So we have to go to the courts to force the sale. Wow. And
can you force the sale?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it can't just go on in years.
The big issue becomes someone drawing the line in the sand and saying, I'm going to go to court and seek this relief. So it can go on and on, but what generally happens is that cycle I told you about, where the property gets lost for tax deeds because I'm not paying, you live in there, you should do it. Or another example, I was explaining to a couple who was in my office just yesterday. I had a woman who died with a will. Her will was 30 years old. Wow. She had 6 children, left all the property to everybody. But that's not the problem. Okay. Problem came because after she died, less than a month after she died, one of her children died. A son. And we were talking before about how men can have kids throughout. That child had 6 kids.
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
So while the family wanted to keep the property in the beginning, then they started dealing with the issues about rent and who's going to collect the rent and who's in charge. So they decided they want to sell. And I was like, well, no, we've got to deal with that other interest, your brother's interest. The siblings are all over the Southeast. Well, actually, I think one was in Hawaii, but all over the place. Wow. And they called me, and well, what do we get? And I said, well, I can't tell you what you get until we go through this process. Right now, we're just at probate. We've got to get the property in your name before we can even talk to somebody about selling. Right. So actually, we're at that point now where we've completed the probate for the brother's estate. And trying to figure out the best way to get 11 people to evaluate and offer and respond, because the buyer's agent, the brother who was the personal representative of his mother's estate per the will, thought he could just tell everybody, I'm the oldest. We've been doing this 50, 60 years now. I'm the oldest. Wow. And I say, this is what we're doing. So this is what we're doing. This is the way it goes. And the younger siblings even like, no. Not to mention the nieces and nephews who didn't grow up with him. Right. And I had to give him a talk. It's like, you can't try to make them see the world.
Right.
And he's a widower, so I assume because he and his wife were in the same house that he was there for his children. But you had a different experience than your brother. Your children had a different experience from your brother's children. So that little operation is really not going to work for them.
Right.
You've got to ask them what they want and be open to hearing what they've got to say.
That's good.
To figure out how you move through that.
Wow. That is insane.
So just to summarize, you need to think about not just at your death, but that next step. Because if everybody's tenants in common and somebody else dies, what do? If somebody else dies before you die, now you've got a multiple of people who are now involved that may not have the same commitment.
Okay, so with that question, what you're saying, if the family fuse and they don't understand it and get it, to come together when mom or dad pass away, the attorney can win at the end of the day because they keep coming back with all the costs and so on, and they have to do their work. So listeners, we love the attorneys, we love Marva, but we don't want the attorney to win on something mom and dad would want you to win on. Definitely. So definitely think about that. Mm-hmm. Julia, I know you got a question over there now. I'll put my hand down.
Oh my God. Okay, so who makes the final decision, like in a case like this?
As far as who sells the property? Right now, we are between probate. Probate is complete, so the property is in the name of 11 people.
Okay.
Oh wow.
And we're thinking that the heirs will ultimately agree once they know what they're getting.
Okay.
But they're a bit guarded because they think somebody's trying to cheat them until they see a number. We're thinking we'll get there. So we haven't brought a partition action to force the sale in court, and we're hoping we don't have to do that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Julie, we have a caller?
I heard we got a caller.
All right, let's do it. Caller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, caller.
What's your name?
Well, Peggy.
Peggy. Nice of you to call us in.
I already told my kids I'm going to do the smart thing. When I pay off my mortgage, I'm putting my daughter's name on the deed, so they don't have to go to probate to get the house. Because I learned from my grandmother, she had a will, and we already knew what she wanted done, but we still had to go to probate and pay all that extra money just for my aunt to get the house that was being left to her. And probate, obviously, they're going to check and make sure that no money is owed to anybody.
Right.
So a lot of people think they're going to get a whole lot of stuff, but when that person leaves a lot of debt, that debt is going to be paid
first and foremost.
Well,
right.
Generally, that's true. But if the property is homestead, which is generally what most people own, in Florida, there are homestead protections for the property. So if you claim that property is homestead and have other documentation in Dade County to support the fact that it was, in fact, the deceased person's homestead, then it's protected from those creditors' claims. However, you are certainly correct in terms of it being in probate and probate being an expensive process and a time-consuming process, because in order to get it determined to be homestead, we have to go through that creditors period, which is a minimum of 90 days. So your point is certainly well taken, caller.
Peggy, that's good, because I was going to bring up a question pertaining to what Peggy was talking about. So they go to that 90-day process period, and you said something about the homestead. So we're protected to an extent. So if mom passed away and mom has $50,000 worth of medical bills, and mom has $25,000 of credit card debt, and all of a sudden they're coming to say, what's in it for me? What happens right there?
If the only asset in the estate is the homestead property, those claims cannot be paid.
And so they won't, you mean medical bills, no credit cards, they won't get a dime.
Exactly.
So, but what happens to that debt?
They are supposed to stay in there. Right. The creditors generally write them off. Okay. But if they elect not to, they can stay in the estate, because in probate, we're a little bit different from other cases, because if you're getting a divorce and you file today and you come to a closure and then you go on and you remarry, then it's a different case. In probate, the case basically stays with the individual because you have one body of assets at the time of death. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we rediscover additional assets later on, but we go back to that same case to deal with those assets. We don't start a new case. Mm-hmm. So that old case number is what governs. And along those lines, I think one of the reasons for that is that the claims remain active. If they aren't paid or otherwise stricken by the court, if you find some asset in the future that doesn't have that exemption or protection, then those assets might go towards paying a claim.
Mm. Okay, Peggy, did you want to add anything to that or say anything else?
With the insurance company, and then what we have to understand too, even with a lot of like our older people had a lot of insurance policies. You have to actually go through probate to get that money if that person was the beneficiary.
That's not accurate.
No, right.
What may have happened in your situation, if the beneficiary predeceased died before the claim was filed, then it has to go through probate to establish who the proper beneficiary is or the heirs of the beneficiary. But if there is a beneficiary designated on an insurance policy, that is one of the assets that passes outside of probate.
Right.
What I'm saying is my grandmother had insurance on one of her brothers, and he died, and she was the beneficiary.
But she was already dead when he died?
Right.
Okay, so that's the clarification that needs to be made. If a beneficiary has died and then the insured dies, the insurance company has to confirm who the appropriate recipient is because the beneficiary is deceased. Mm. So that's what happened, but that's not a standard insurance policy.
But everything was cleared up in the probate. But the good thing my grandmother did when she did her will, she left me in charge of everything because she knew that I was going to do exactly what she said. But she was smart enough. She had the CDs, all her monetary assets. She had them assigned to particular people.
Right, that's good.
And the ones that she had for her grandchildren, she assigned me over it to issue it out to everybody.
Grandma was smart.
Passed away, and she was smart enough. She had already paid for her burial. She had paid for her plot. She had very little in insurance money. She had everything in CDs.
Wow. Well, at least she had somebody. She had a beneficiary, so there would go outside of probate too, wouldn't it?
Exactly. But I think what she's saying is that the grandchildren were minors. Is that it?
No, we were all adults. We were when she put everything in my name. I was an adult.
But I mean, the CDs you were managing for the other grandchildren, were they minors? Because that's a situation that may have to be addressed because minors, the bank doesn't want to give something to a minor who's not able to be responsible. Right. So we have the minors, I can't think of the name of it right now, but there is a custodian relationship that can exist for people to receive money on behalf of minors if it's less than $15,000.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Julia, you say we have another call?
Peggy, thanks for calling. We have another caller on the line.
Have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you.
Caller?
Good. How you doing, ma'am?
Hi, how are you?
Good. I need to ask a couple of questions.
First of all, what's your name?
A couple?
Yeah.
What's your name, sir?
My name's Frank.
Frank, nice
Frank, we're going to let you answer. We're going to let you ask one call, and then we're going to give you Marva's phone number. Is that all right? Go for it.
I guess. My parents passed away a few years ago, okay? And I need to change the name, but I have a sister, and I don't want to fight with her. I want to put her name, my name on the house. I need some direction.
That sounds like probate, sir.
Okay.
How long?
Maybe with that right there, Marva, because it might take a little bit more to explain and go into detail, and I think it's very important that, Frank, you get the answer that you need. You definitely want to take Marva's phone number on that one. She'll call out her number. Did you have another question besides that one? She'll be more than glad to answer that question off the radio.
I do, but it all goes to the first question. Like I said, I need to ask her a number of questions, but I can ask her that off the air.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. All right, Marva, give out your contact information definitely so Frank can get it.
Okay, my number at the office is 786.
Okay, all right, wait a minute. Write this number down. 786
536 4612.
I'm having somebody write it because I'm picking up somebody right now.
Say it again, Marvin.
Okay, it's 786
536
4612.
4612.
Correct.
536 4612.
And her name is Attorney Marva Wiley.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for calling, Frank.
Frank, she'll answer all your questions with no problem.
Okay. When can I call? After the hour or just anytime? Not
Monday,
anytime, but
Monday I should be in the office by 8:30 generally. So Monday 8:30 9 o'clock I should be available.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Thanks for calling, Frank.
All right.
All right. You got the callers' ears peaked around here. They are itching to
think
ask
we
questions.
might need to change to real estate radio to probate talk.
Yeah.
Because we can't get them to call, but they're listening. That's the good part about it. We
You
know
did
that our
nothing for
listeners are listening. That's
Okay.
right.
So,
All right, Julia, what you got over there?
we got.
What
All right.
we got?
So, tell me, what is quitclaim?
A quitclaim deed is, and it's quit, Q-U-I-T. I often see people writing quick. like
Q-U-I-C-K.
Like they do realtor. Okay,
Yeah.
we got you. So
right.
it's quit. Tell them again.
Quit claim. So it quits. It ends any claims that the grantor has relative to the property.
Mm-hmm.
So we use a quit claim deed in a number of circumstances. Sometimes as in an estate planning context, we create a life estate for someone. And again, allowing the property to move outside of probate, we can create a life estate, or I think what Peggy was talking about was probably a joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. Mm-hmm. If you acquire property by yourself and want to create a survivorship relationship for someone else, then you can do a quitclaim deed to establish that joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. Or one other example that's come up a few times recently, two people buy a property together before they marry and later marry. It doesn't, the marriage doesn't create a tenancy by the entireties. So you may want to execute a quitclaim deed to establish that kind of survivorship relationship.
Okay, so that just adds that spouse on it.
No, I'm suggesting that they may have owned the property together
okay.
before they married,
Okay.
but they wouldn't have survivorship rights unless that's specifically designated in the deed by either saying that they are husband and wife, or husband and husband now, or that they have a joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. Mm-hmm. That specific language is necessary to establish that.
Okay. I know it's almost time, so I'm just going to, this is probably a long question, but you can just say yes or no. Is it good to do a trust if you have only one property? And I know, some people may not know the difference between a trust and a will, and that's another show. But if you do know the difference, is it best to do a trust with only one property? We have 2 minutes.
Generally, I don't recommend a trust for just one property.
Gotcha.
Because one of the things that I mentioned earlier in our show today is that the cost of maintaining property can be at issue. And if you only have one property and you haven't funded the trust other than having that property, where's the money going to come from?
That's
so
good.
We can cause people to look around and say, well, it's not me. I don't own it. What do you own it? What's going on? So that's one of the things you want to think about when you put property in a trust. Who's going to be responsible for it long term? How do those bills get paid? And how do things move forward?
So with that being said, even though a will has to go through probate, it is just still recommended that one should do a will.
Right.
And make it simpler.
Because there are other things you can do to avoid probate with regard to real property. So one of those other tools would probably be more effective to manage things rather than having a trust that then could potentially end up in probate anyway.
All right. Okay. Well, we appreciate you again for coming on our show. We won't put you in the lobby and have you sign on the dotted line. Again, I am Karen Lewis, your Florida real estate broker. My contact number is 305-323-1556. And thank you again, Attorney Marva.
Thank you for having me. Marva Wiley, office number is 786-536-4612.
Awesome. And on that note, we're going to have y'all sign on the dotted line because that's how we close these deals around here. So, I hope our listeners enjoyed the show today. I am Julia Harris, a.k.a. Julia the Realtor, and my number is 954-483-9994. I want you to join us every first and third Saturday, same time, same place, WMBM, AM 1490. Peace. Thank you for listening to Julia the Realtor. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.